So I guess the goal is to somehow pop one of that off. Pop that one off in it.
And I mean, you know, well, I just
Let's go, dude.
and they're going to get the desk out again. It's been on sale. But mind you, the cream was really, the other cream was.
Alrighty. Just got our bike rigged up. Got our bib number there. Sticker kind of got a little bit messed up, but we're chilling. Fuck me, dude. Let me just clip this guy on. So we're back at the Airbnb, and just kind of want to go over a lot has happened the past couple days, and honestly, I've been really trying to record everything, but it's been pretty hectic, and so just want to kind of walk over the game plan for race day. So first and foremost, we got a pimp ass bag. This thing's fucking sick. It's pretty sweet. We got that from the expo, and then I got this thing's what I'm gonna be wearing on race day. So we got my first swim cap, and then just got a backup one. Kind of just walk you guys through everything. So we're going on parole. They gave us a whatever it is, an ankle monitor, so I have to put this guy on before the swim. And then this is a band you wear race day. And then this is my actual, my bib. I got my bib number. And then this is my bag, my transition bag. And then we have swimming cap with my my bib number on there. So morning of the race, we're gonna wear the ankle monitor. So the goal is to basically put it on my tri-suit, then we put the wetsuit over top. So then when I transition, I don't have to worry about messing around getting my bib on. My kind of fueling strategy. So shout out Hunter. Hunter, if you ever watch this YouTube video. So we got Morton, the drink mix. It's a 320, so per serving is 320 calories, 80 grams of carbs, and 37 grams of sugar, plus 37 grams of added sugar. Okay. Oh, so I guess it's just 30 grams of sugar. I'm looking at two different fucking labels there, but this stuff's flavorless. So my game plan is I want to go something easy on the stomach. So I just went with this little drink sweetener. The ingredients list isn't too terrible on it. Like there's not a whole bunch of crap in it. So hopefully it's good on the GI. Unless I'm gonna just drink something that tastes like plain rice. And then we got some Go gels as well. But I heard that, what is it? What's the brand called? There's a nutrition brand. It's not Morton, it's the other brand. But we're gonna go with that. So game plan is there. We got our 2 bottles up. We're gonna put those on the bike and then have 1 water bottle for my Gatorade. It's pretty much all I have for you. Oh yeah, gave me a little diesel protein bar too. But Coach Kyle isn't gonna let me eat that. Coach Kyle's not. We've been living off of if anyone's familiar with the cream of rice, it's what we're living off of. It's interesting too because I feel like my body composition's taken a huge hit. Like I'm pretty damn fluffy right now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. And it's just my macros have been really just hammering in. Like 60% of my food is literally carbs at the moment. And so I also can't believe this, but it's been 2 days straight now where I forgot to take my creatine, and this has never happened. Never fucking happened. Basically get there super early, get my wetsuit on, fart around a little bit, get myself nice and prepared so I'm not stressed out, and then hit the show road. Talking also to a couple really nice individuals, and they're also telling me about this course is it's not really a time course as it's very hilly. And so I think they had 1 year where they actually ran a full Ironman on this course, and people were not throwing up incredible times because of how challenging it is. Like, it's a beautiful course, they said, but it's just hilly. Like, the bike, you're doing short hills or long inclines and then a decline there you can kind of regain yourself, and then the run is very hilly. So I don't care. Fuck that. We're gonna go lay everything out on the table and crunch for a good time. Get up at like 4, have a cream of rice, a banana, and then some whey. Get some carbs in me, and then force myself to shit before I go, because I'm not doing that mid-race or having any GI distress. So yeah.
Got it. Go, Ethan!
Been approximately 3 days since I finished my first ever half Ironman, and it was something I manifested for well over a year now. I did not end up hitting my exact time goal. I wanted to finish the race in 5 hours. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I finished it in 6 hours. It's interesting because I've always been some guy that's just like, time goal, hit this goal, and then everything will solve itself. And I realized that you can change your goals in an instant. You have the privilege to change the way you see things in seconds, because you are in complete control of your life. And that race really taught me a lot, because it started off fine. I had the proper training, the proper fueling. My coaches, Kyle and Martin, absolutely killed it. They were phenomenal coaches. They couldn't have done anything else to get me to that position. They did their job, and the ball was essentially in my court. And I remember when I first started the swim, I got in the water and the adrenaline kicks off. And when you're swimming and there's 1,600 people in the water with you, you're getting kicked in the face. When you get water, your wetsuit tightens up on your chest. And I began to panic. And especially for me, I do have a fear of being out in open water, because that was my first time swimming in an open water environment. So I had a panic attack. I couldn't get my breaststrokes down. I was struggling in the water. And I remember I was just kind of coasting along for bits and pieces, and when you panic, I end up zigzagging, going really far off course. And the most valuable lesson I'm going to tell you that I learned was that there's no excuse behind what happened. However, what I did learn was that I had a choice to go home, DNF, pack it in, swim over to the kayak, and throw in the towel at something I fucking put so much time into. Or I could continue pursuing that goal, because I knew that there was a red carpet waiting for me. I knew there was something. I knew that that little kid version of myself needed someone to be there. And most importantly, my 78-year-old grandmother was standing at that finish line waiting for her grandson to complete something. And I know that sounds heavy, like there's a lot of expectations going on. But ultimately, I knew I need to do it for myself. And there's no cliche way to put it. And so I pack it in, and I end up coasting and swimming and getting through it, and I finished the swim in 49 minutes. I get out the water, go get on the bike, and the adrenaline endorphins are kicking. And this was probably the hilliest course I've ever done in my life. Like, I trained for this, but it was bad. There's humidity, lots of humidity. It was like 35 degrees Celsius, and I remember just going up, I think it was around 1,200 meters of elevation gain, the whole bike course. And I was just absolutely fighting hill after hill, and I was going really hard on the descents, trying to make up time because of my swim. And what ended up happening is I got through the bike. I ended up PRing on the bike, which is awesome. And I remember just killing it, just trucking up those hills and giving everything in the tank. And I go to start the run after that last final transition, and I realized my legs were like jello. And I knew that my background in running, I was going to have a hard battle. I knew right after my first couple steps there, my heart rate started to spike and my quads started to really sink in the pain. And so I realized very quickly that not only being greeted to the world's ginormous hill, and the run course was very hilly, I accepted that this wasn't going to be easy, but I knew that I was going to finish that race. And although I was a minute slower the whole time than my initial goal pace for the running portion, I realized in that moment that, again, I went too hard on the bike, but I was just grateful to be in that moment for once. And I realized that I was having a super high heart rate. I wasn't going to go anywhere. I was going to burn myself out if I tried to go faster. And I started to instead shift my perspective, my mental game. Instead of looking at this being the most excruciating pain in my life, because it was, I started to express gratitude. I was cheering on people beside me. There's people who were in their 40s, 50s, even 60s right beside me doing this race. And instead I started to embrace the moment and appreciate that I wasn't suffering alone, that I was suffering with people who were also suffering for a goal that they worked so hard for. And I started to realize that it wasn't about the time. And I remember just finishing that run. I remember there's people pouring pitchers down my back. I had getting to the next aid station and I was cheering on people. I was high-fiving them as we were going by, and to see so many people signing up for this crazy race. And I remember crossing that round, that bend to run down that red carpet. And the euphoria of that experience, just knowing that I worked so hard for something, and to see my family waiting there at the end, I realized that although this was harder than my marathon, from running a 3 hour and 23 minute marathon to running a 2 hour half marathon, time-wise, it wasn't nowhere near where I wanted to be. That I didn't have to perform. I don't have to perform for validation from the world. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the most jacked and rich and athletic person in the world to be happy and fulfilled. If anything, it's a greater way to kill who you are as a person. I'm trying to show my younger self how much he's grown and the man that he's becoming. I was able to understand that it wasn't about anything. It's about suffering within myself and proving to myself that I am the person that my younger self needed. I am the person who does hard things. I am the person who is so grateful to suffer physically and mentally to the point where I don't know, I can't even count how many times right now that I want to give up. My mind was telling me everything to give up. And instead I endured it. I suffered. I dove further into that deep pain. I really dislike seeing videos on social media where people are like, oh, well, I had an injury and I didn't get the time I wanted. They have an excuse. It's like they don't accept fate. They don't accept that maybe they just weren't ready. And if they did have an injury, they don't accept that maybe that's just a calling from God, that they weren't ready to receive that goal that they were working for. There was more work that needed to be done. And that's exactly what I found on race day. I battled a patellar tendon injury in my knee. My knee was blown out. I couldn't run for the past 3 weeks before my prep ended. I could barely bike. I was out for 30-minute bike rides. And then most importantly, in February, I messed up my Achilles in my left leg. I was out for 10 weeks from running. But I could sit there and use that excuse as the reason why I ran a 6-hour Ironman. That doesn't even exist in my brain. And the version of myself who ran that marathon in October, I know for a fact that would have existed. And that would have been living in my head rent-free. Because my goals shifted after that swim. That really was it. Instead of throwing the towel in the most vulnerable position out in the middle of a lake that's 100 feet deep, in that moment, I realized that was I going to be an Ironman today, or was I going to be that person who packs it in? And I decided to be the hero for my own story. There's no glamorous way to put this. There really isn't. I just showed up and kept going, and I transitioned my goals. And that's what being resilient is. That's what showing up for yourself is. That's what losing weight is. That's what life is. So many people have this misconception of it has to be perfect all the time. I have to be six-pack shredded. I have to get validation from the world. You don't need any of that. And in fact, that's a short way to live. The real strength comes from what you do behind the scenes. The real strength comes from when you're faced by the only person that's looking back at you, which is the reflection in the mirror. And that's yourself. You can have everything you want in life and still not be satisfied. So if there's one thing I really learned from the weekend was how grateful I was to be in a position to suffer, and how grateful I was to finish a 113-kilometer race, and how grateful I was to be in absolute pain right now, to hold the railing every time I go down the stairs, and to know that I accomplished something I put my mind to over a year ago, and the people I met along the way, in the times where I was running out in the middle of the winter, the times where I was crying in my basement because I fell short of my workout and I was dealing with an injury, the times where I was bawling my eyes out, scared if I was going to be able to do this race, or the times where I was so happy I felt like I was on top of the clouds. And that's what it was. That was my goal in this prep, was to feel every emotion. If I was angry, I'm going to express my anger. If I was happy, I was going to express my happy. And if I was sad, I was going to cry. And I was going to cry in public, and I didn't care who fucking looked at me. Because what I can tell you is, before I finished my marathon, and even after I finished my marathon, my mental health take everything from me. My life was black and white. It didn't have color to it. I bottled everything up. I tried to be a man, tried to tough it out. And I thought that brute forcing my way and working harder was gonna give me that success in my life. And being so hard on myself, I thought that that's what I needed to get to that next level. Because if no one's gonna do it, who else is gonna do it? And I realized that's not it. I think we forget that we are emotional beings. I think we forget that sometimes it's okay to just brush the surface. I think we also forget that being obsessed with something and pursuing something and having that grit and determination is also okay. I think we forget that we're oftentimes the people that are holding the pen to our story, and we are the author. And so there's not a whole lot of value to go on there, but I'm so grateful because I stepped away from everything in life for that weekend and enjoyed time with my family, who dedicated everything to watching their son and grandson go do something that he's passionate about. And if you were to ask me if I'd do that again, I'd fucking tell you every single day of the week I'd do that again. To feel that pain again, I would do it. Not for the validation of other people, but because I'm constantly in a state of vulnerability and I'm constantly growing, because that's the story that I'm choosing for myself. And the question isn't what's other people going to think about me. The question isn't what should I be doing with my life. The question should be, do you feel like you are the type of person that you want to be? Do you feel like you're satisfied in life? Do you feel like you're just coasting along? Do you feel like you neglect yourself? Do you feel like there's certain things in your life you've been avoiding because you're too scared to confront things? Do you not feel confident? Because everyone loves to talk about confidence, but nobody talks about the points where you have to be vulnerable. And what if I told you confidence comes from being wrong, being a failure at times, making mistakes? It's not slapping yourself on the wrist for doing something wrong. It's doing something wrong and having the resilience and versatility to get your ass back on track. Perfection doesn't exist. And expectations don't exist either. What does exist is the way you want to live your life and the choices that you make. And those are the lessons that I've learned from my first ever half Ironman. No, I know I was going to talk about goals moving forward, but at this moment in time, I don't have any. I'm going to sit and feel the gratitude and the appreciation and the endorphins and dopamine of what I just accomplished in my life. And then when the time's right, the Lord will make that happen for me. And because I had God with me, I'm not trying to prove my younger self wrong. And I learned that because for once I had peace with it. This is the whole point. You will cross that finish line. And when you're forced in an environment where you have nothing left to really offer, and that it's just you versus you, and your goal is to objectively cross that finish line, you could easily shut down. It's even back at the swim. Most people would have given up at that point. And the difference is not about giving up. It's about having the mental fortitude to understand that no matter what happens, it's about who you become along that process. For 21 kilometers, a battle, seeing